Hi, everybody. Kathy Hanson here. Thanks so much for joining me today. The main reason I decided to offer this workshop on papers and erasers is so many times I would witness students as they were developing a design suddenly be met with frustration because the tools that they had chosen would not give them the desired effects they wanted. There are so many different types of paper out there, as well as erasers. And because everyone doesn't either have the time, the resources, or the finances to go out and purchase one of everything to experiment on their own, I decided to do all the work for you. So because I have such a limited amount of time, I'm going to just jump right in and share some basic eraser and paper facts with you, and I hope you enjoy it. This eraser guide is invaluable that we're going to share with you guys. It not only tells you the features of it, how, what it's made of, but the benefits of it, and then also the mediums it's compatible with for erasing and the surfaces it erases best on. Knowledge is power with the kids. This is one of the things I really, really want to go over with you. There's many options they have out there to create the exact look that they want in a drawing. If you choose the wrong degree of pencil or the wrong surface or the wrong eraser, you're setting yourself up for failure. So at a glance, real fast, I want to talk about drawing papers. There is newsprint to sort of sketch your ideas out on. There is sketch paper, which is lightweight drawing paper. And then there's heavier poundage drawing paper. Whenever possible, um, use drawing paper if you plan to do a lot of blending and erasing. You're going to be more limited with your sketch paper. I can't say no sketch paper is going to give you the effect you want because pencils react differently on different types of paper. It depends not only on the weight, but the surface coating of it. What I look for in a good drawing paper is it going to effortlessly erase? Or is that pigment going to instantly embed itself so it's going to leave a stain even if you use a high quality eraser? This is what I was talking about before. Is it going to sit on top of the paper so you can blend it out nicely? Or is it going to suck it right in? Okay. This is 80-pound paper. Drawing paper comes in white, off-white, and cream. Again, this was the same paper, so you see it effortlessly lifts out eraser debris and it lets the pigment sit on top of the paper so you can blend it, move it, create a lot of great effects. Sometimes you don't have the option of using a good high quality drawing paper or you have an overabundance of some of these other papers. So I wanted to take a second and just visually show you illustration board. It will lift out that pigment great. You have some blendability, but all the lines won't totally dissolve. So it must grab it a little bit more. Vellum blends a little bit nicer than illustration board. Mixed media actually blends pretty darn good, but it's going to leave some of that pigment behind, so you're not going to get a bright white. Machine made watercolor paper up here actually blends well too, but it shows a little more texture because you have more hills and valleys in watercolor paper. So in a valley, it's going to be darker. At the top of the hill, less pigment is going to be there. That's why you're going to get a lot of values and a little more of a textural effect. But it does erase out nicely. We also have vellum. Vellum is going to lift out great, and for the most part, blends very, very nicely. Marker paper is much thinner. It is not an ideal paper, but sometimes as teachers, we don't have ideal surfaces for the kids to work on. It erases pretty easily. It's not going to soften out totally to nothing. Just, blend off out into nothing because it does like to grab this paper. This paper likes to grab this pigment. Same with copy paper. Actually, copy paper sometimes can create some really nice effects blending wise for you, but you really have to make sure you use a high quality eraser on copy paper because if you don't, it's just going to want to grab that paper right up because it's so thin. You obviously you would love the ideal surface, but if you can't have it with your students, the best thing you can do for them to explain the limitations of the surface they're working on and the best options to use for creating art on that paper. So hopefully you will find that a little bit helpful. Next thing I do want to go into again is erasers. Um, there's high quality erasers and there are crappy erasers. What I mean by, I shouldn't say crappy, inferior. Plastic can be hard or soft. A lot of people just grab the cheapest eraser they can in the plastic, and it's going to be very, very hard. Hard ones are going to just grab that paper or grab that pigment and not remove it, but just pull it across the paper. Um, General makes all their pencils. They do not make all their erasers. They've had a long-standing relationship with the Factis company in Spain. We have the top of the line Factis erasers at General Pencil, which is wonderful because I utilize erasers a lot. You want your eraser soft, but you also want it dense. That's what's going to give that liftability is the firmness of it, not the hardness of it. You know you have a good eraser whether it's on drawn pigment or tone pigment when you can effortlessly go to the white of the paper. You don't have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to do that same thing on drawn pigment. Now, the first thing students want to do is just this. I don't like to do that because, first of all, sometimes if you've pressed too hard, you're going to embed that debris into it. And second of all, I have this real nice crisp line. I'm taking a chance of smearing that line when I do it. So, ideally, if you invest in inexpensive camel hair soft hair brushes, I like to use Dynasty ones. Very, very inexpensive. Because now when I remove it, it effortlessly leaves the paper and I still have that crisp line and all that white. See that? Now, drawn pigment, sometimes you can't just do one pass like tone pigment. But even if you do a second and a third pass with it on the drawn, effortlessly to the white of the paper. So that's what a plastic eraser will do. Um, this is extra soft white vinyl. If I can only afford one eraser, this would be my eraser of choice because this effortlessly will erase pastel, watercolor pencil, graphite, and charcoal. It is extra soft white vinyl. It is so delicate, even the most delicate papers or cheap thin papers will not grab it. It will not um, lift up the top surface layer of your delicate papers. The surface integrity of delicate papers will never be compromised, and but it also works very well on your cheap papers to try to remove the pigment and not embed it. Here is that extra soft white vinyl eraser, and here it is again on drawn pigment surfaces. The only thing that sometimes is not capable of removing is super dark layer upon layer of dark embedded graphite. Sometimes to get it totally to the white of the paper, you would have to use that high quality plastic eraser because it's firmer. This is so soft. So ideally, if I can have two erasers, I would have both of these. If I can only afford one, I would get that extra soft white vinyl eraser, which is so versatile. You can cut it into shapes. You can stamp with it. You can put inks or markers on it and create designs, and then effortlessly take that dirty right off because it is a self-cleaning eraser. You'll get it back to the white of the paper. General also has a black 18 Factis eraser. This really was created when you are working on toned or dark papers. There is no way it's going to leave a ghost mark or partially lift up some of the tone color. Yet on white paper, it does not leave a dark mark. So this is a wonderful eraser to have to work in graphite, on white paper, as well as tone papers. This is a luxury, but I utilize it all the time. This is that same soft eraser in a pen style form. What I love about it is I have no view obstruction with this, whereas I could have created with any of the other erasers the same thing, but you see I've got the eraser blocking my view. I forgot to do that black 18 here too. You know, I mean, isn't it wonderful to see how effortlessly these just cross right across the paper? So that is going to be your BM2. Let's get these lined up for you. The next eraser that's fun to have in the classroom is the tri-tip. This also is created in an oval shape, but I love working with this because I have all these different surface areas to remove pigment. And as you can see, this is another one, boom, 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 effortlessly will erase. And especially if you're working on inferior paper, guys, the importance of a good eraser is so valuable. Last but not least, we have a kneaded eraser. Kneaded erasers are not meant to totally erase, even though they will, but they are meant to alter and partially lift out pigment. Um, a high quality one will do that. This one has been used for a while. If it was straight out of the packaging, it would have lifted even more. Pressure is very important when working with a kneaded eraser with these kids because the harder you press, the more pigment it's going to remove. And it's much easier to remove more pigment than less pigment. So I always tell them start out with a light touch. If it's straight out of the package, you won't have this problem with generals, but I'm going to share this with you because some of the other ones, a lot of people have told me recently that oil has come to the surface and it almost leaves an oily residue on their paper. So I always tell everyone, finger it a little bit on a spare piece of paper, blot it down a few times to make sure that doesn't occur, or to make it a little less absorbent. Sometimes it will extract almost everything immediately, and it's so hard for the kids then to have to go back and try to get just the right amount of pigment back in an area that they removed too much. So erasers are very, very important. Because all of the eraser examples I shared with you were done on graphite swatches, I wanted to give you a quick visual of how effortlessly all of those Factis erasers are going to remove charcoal, whether it's drawn or toned, as well as pastel. Now, there's one thing that this little black 18 Factis eraser can erase that, to my knowledge, no other eraser can do, and that is colored pencil. So any excess colored pencil they want to remove, you want to remove just one layer of it, give a light swatch, run over that paper. If you want to extract all of it, this little black 18 can do that. In closing, um, most teachers' budgets don't allow them to get the ultimum surface for the project at hand. They either can't afford it or they have excess of other types of paper that they need to use up. If that is the case, three things are super important. Whenever possible, get an quality artist grade pigment pencil in their hands because the more pigment that you can lay down on paper, the better chances you will have a success because you can spread it, you can manipulate it further. Your eraser is going to become very, very important on inferior paper because a good eraser will extract even off paper that's going to suck it up. It also will not, the surface integrity of the paper will not be as easily compromised. And when that happens, it is just going to start pilling up, and any additional pigment they put in is just going to grab and not be pleasing. And the third thing is make sure that the paper you're going to be laying down, the subject matter that they want to create can actually be created on it. Take the time to share with them the limitations of the paper they're working with, and hopefully suggest to them, or they'll come to the conclusion on their own, that maybe a different type of subject matter will work better on that type of paper. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you're looking for any additional tutorials on product knowledge, product applications, please make sure you go to the General Pencil website, because they have a lot of great little films on it already, and we are going to be adding to that library throughout the whole year. So hope you visit it and visit it often. I also hope you visit my website, KathyHanson.com, because I am planning to put a bunch of great little tutorials on that I think you might find helpful in the classroom too. So, guys, it's time to go. I hope this was interesting to you and something you'd like to share with your students. I wish you all a very healthy, happy, and successful school year. Kathi Hanson signing off. Take care.